Today we're going to take a look at No Thru Road by Clement Salvadori. If you're not familiar, Clement is a motor journalist, world traveler who has spent just decades traveling the world on various motorcycles and writing about it in Rider magazine. That's where I first became familiar with him, was via the Rider magazine. And then, when I got a couple of his books, they're just great collections. He says right at the beginning that No Thru Road is a bit of a misnomer, although the cover, if you can see that there, shows him hoisting his motorcycle, his BMW, over a log. He says it's more about people telling him all of the time, you can't get there from here. And his attitude is always, well, let's go see. And he'll take off. I completely appreciate that. When I watch a lot of adventure riders, they have the same idea. The road says road closed, and they're like, maybe. They go down there and you realize it's just closed for cars. You just get around it on a motorcycle. So Clement has that spirit about him. He doesn't care about GPS and technology. He cares about traveling and meeting people and seeing people. And indeed, many of the tales here are from the era of Triumph Bonnevilles and old BMWs. Although, in later years when newer technology came about, he has modern motorcycles as well. But Clement is one of those classic guys who loves a classic motorcycle and rides it in a classic way, if that's too many classics for you. The book itself is laid out in alphabetical order, and it covers many different places he's gone, and it kind of covers quite a span of time. For example, Afghanistan 1973, Alaska 1976, Baja California and Mexico in 75 and 80, 64 in Bavaria, Big Sur in 2012, so much more modern there. And then he's got Brazil and Europe and Guatemala and Japan and Kashmir and Naples and Nepal, Pamplona, Peru, Queensland, Scandinavia, and so on and so forth. And the tales range from, death-defying, almost dying kind of tales to pretty simple stuff as well. Lots of tales of getting rained on and these issues and those issues, and bikes getting stuck in things and having to repair stuff and having to use sign language when you're trying to communicate with people who don't speak English. Especially some of the early ones, like the Afghanistan in 73. I've just started rereading this book, so that one kind of stands out. He went there in 73. And there was so much that hadn't been done back then. We think of, travel now, and you don't, if you haven't been around this long enough, or you're unfamiliar with people who've done it and read about it, you realize that, there was a long period of time where a Western guy was a weird anomaly. No one had seen it before. A blonde woman might show up, and no one had seen that before. Women who were traveling alone was sort of a no-no in many of these places. And so he writes quite a bit about that. And his writing is, again, much more about the overall experience. He doesn't really cover specifics of anything like the technology used or performance. It's just more about, again, you get the real sense of being on the dirt road with him, and you're out seeing the things. And he does a lot of in describing of, you'd almost think of it as tourism type of stuff, but it was back in a different era. We're climbing up on pyramids and seeing ruins and having to dig through a jungle to see a thing. Nowadays, it would all be paved with a tour guide, and you'd pay your fee, and they would take you in with a hard hat and a flashlight. So you get the real sense of what the world has been in the past and is no longer. So there's a bit of nostalgia that goes on with that. And if you like adventuring from the travel viewpoint, a book like this would be a phenomenal addition to your bookshelf, because it's all about the travel. It's not about the bike. It's not about, jumping and power sliding and those kinds of things. It's, water crossings with three people helping, move the bike, or putting it up on a boat, or a sketchy situation that they had to deal with, camels, or an old van that broke down, or whatever. So anyway, No Thru Road by Clement Salvadori is one of my favorites, because Clement's one of my favorite writers. I love his casual, relaxed style, and it just, again, takes me to the place where kind of how I like to do it, which is just to go out and see what I see. So get your copy today.